This is the story of the best day of my life and how it slowly destroyed everything I had. Not all at once, that would have been easier. It happened piece by piece, like watching a house burn down in slow motion and being unable to move. My name is Lucas. I was 28 years old. I worked in a warehouse on the edge of the city. I lived alone in a small apartment. I had one real friend, and on a Tuesday night in November, I won $14 million. I wish I hadn't. Let me tell you who Lucas was before the money, because that part matters. He woke up every morning at 5:45, not because he wanted to, because he had to. Warehouse work, moving boxes, loading trucks, scanning barcodes. 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, same coworkers, same bad jokes, same coffee that tasted like cardboard. He didn't hate it. That was almost the worst part. He had just accepted it. He didn't have big dreams anymore. He had given those up around 24, the year his girlfriend left. She said she wanted more. He understood. That was the part that hurt the most. The same year, his father got sick. Nothing fatal, but enough to slow everything down. Enough to cost money they didn't have. Lucas picked up extra shifts. He stopped going out. He stopped thinking about the future. He just survived. Day after day after day. His apartment was small, one bedroom, a kitchen just big enough to cook in, a window that looked out onto a brick wall. But it was his. And on Friday evenings, after his shift, he always stopped at the same gas station. He bought a coffee and one lottery ticket. Not because he believed he would win. He knew the odds. 1 in 300 million. He wasn't stupid. But it cost $2, and for a few minutes on a Friday evening, sitting in his car outside the gas station, he could imagine a different life. A house with a real garden, traveling somewhere warm, waking up without an alarm. $2 for 5 minutes of hope. That was the only luxury he could still afford. It was a Tuesday night, not even a Friday. He was sitting on his couch after work, eating leftover pasta, half watching something on TV. He almost didn't check the ticket. He had checked it 3 days after buying it, out of habit. He typed the numbers into the app. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The screen froze for a second. Then the number appeared. $14,300,000. He read it once, then again, then a third time. He put his fork down. He turned off the TV. He sat in complete silence. He didn't scream. He didn't jump up. He didn't call anyone. He just sat there. Because here is something nobody ever tells you about the moment everything changes. It doesn't feel like happiness. It feels like a mistake. Like someone made an error, and any second now the phone will ring and they will take it back. He barely slept that night. The next morning, he went to work. He knew it was his last day, but he couldn't just not show up. So he went. He stacked boxes. He made the cardboard coffee. He laughed at the same old joke from the same old coworker. And at the end of his shift, he quietly walked to his car. He sat behind the wheel for a few minutes. He looked back at the warehouse entrance, and he drove away. He never went back. That evening, he called his mother, for the first time in months. He said, "Mom, I won something." She thought he meant a raffle at work. When he told her the number, the line went quiet. 3 full seconds of silence. Then he heard her start to cry. And he cried too. Properly, for the first time in years. That was the most beautiful moment of his life. It was also the last peaceful moment of his life. The news leaked within 3 days. He still doesn't know how. Maybe someone at the lottery office talked. Maybe a neighbor saw something. Maybe he mentioned it to the wrong person. It doesn't matter. What matters is that by Thursday, everyone knew. His phone started vibrating and didn't stop. Messages from people he hadn't thought about in years. A cousin he had seen twice in his entire life. A guy from high school who had never spoken to him once. An old neighbor from the street he grew up on. "Hey Lucas, brother. We really need to catch up soon. Hey, do you remember me? We sat next to each other in 3rd grade. I've been going through something really difficult. You were always such a good friend to me." He read every single one. He replied to none of them, because he recognized what they all were. They were not messages from people who missed him. They were messages from people who had just heard a number. At the same time, something strange started happening with the people he actually knew. They became quieter. It is raining. Not the dramatic kind, just the quiet, gray kind that makes everything look like it has been left out too long. You are sitting in a parking lot outside a pharmacy, engine off, wipers still going, even though you stopped caring about the windshield 5 minutes ago. You are staring at your phone. The numbers are still there. You have refreshed the page 3 times. Closed the app, opened it again. The numbers have not changed. You do not scream. You do not cry. You just sit there, in the rain, staring at a screen that is telling you your entire life is over, and a completely new one is about to begin, whether you are ready or not. You are not ready. $340 million. You already know the lump sum will be less. Taxes will take nearly half. But even after all of that, the number that lands in your account is more than you have ever been able to imagine. More than your parents will earn in 10 lifetimes. More than every debt, every late payment, every month you barely made it through. You sit in that parking lot for 47 minutes before you start the car. You do not tell anyone. The first thing you do, not that night, but 3 days later, after you have barely slept and barely eaten and barely spoken to a single person, is call a lawyer. Not a friend, not family. A lawyer you found after 4 hours of research. Someone who works with people who have had things like this happen to them. She picks up on the second ring. Her voice is calm. She sounds like she has done this before. And sitting in your apartment, surrounded by the same furniture and the same unwashed dishes and the same life you had a week ago, you realize something for the first time. You have not actually changed yet. The money exists somewhere, in an account, in a trust, in a number on a screen. But you are still exactly the person you were before. And that is the first thing no one tells you about winning. Money does not transform you. It amplifies you. Whatever was already there, the insecurity, the loneliness, the hunger, the fear, it does not disappear. It just gets louder. You pay off your debt first. Student loans, gone in 3 minutes. Credit card balance, gone. The medical bill from years ago that you had been quietly ignoring, gone. You do it from your phone, sitting on your kitchen floor, and you feel almost nothing. Not relief, not joy, just silence where the anxiety used to be. And you do not know what to do with silence. You have been anxious about money since you were a teenager, watching your parents' faces at the end of every month. That low-level hum of financial fear was always there, the background noise of your entire adult life. And now it is just gone, like someone pulled a plug. And the quiet that comes after is almost worse than the noise ever was. You help your family. Of course you do. You pay off your parents' house. You call them and make something up, a bonus, an inheritance, a good year. Your mother asks 3 times if you are sure. Your father does not say much. He just breathes on the phone, the way he does when he is trying not to cry. You sit with that phone call for a long time after you hang up. This is what the money is for, you think. This, right here. But then a week passes, and then 2, and the messages start coming. Not from your parents, from others. Cousins you have not spoken to since a wedding 4 years ago. An uncle with a business idea. Someone from school who just wants to catch up. You learn something fast. People do not change when you get money, but they reveal themselves. You quit your job 2 months in. You tell yourself you will travel, rest, figure things out. And you do travel. Business class to Tokyo. A week in a hotel where everything feels like it belongs to a different world. Room service at 2 in the morning. A view you will never forget. It is genuinely beautiful. And you eat dinner alone every single night. You bring a book. You order things you cannot pronounce. You watch other people laugh at tables around you, couples, friends, families. And you realize, slowly, that no amount of money buys you someone to eat with. You fly home earlier than planned. The loneliness is the part that blindsides you most. Before, you were lonely sometimes, but you were busy. There were deadlines, obligations, plans that kept you moving. Now there is nothing you have to do. Nothing pressing, nothing waiting. And the freedom that was supposed to feel like flying just feels like floating, untethered, directionless, somewhere above a world you used to belong to. Your friends still have jobs. They still stress about rent. They still complain about their bosses over drinks on a Thursday night, drinks you now pay for without a second thought. You love them, but there is a glass wall between you now, invisible but solid. You can see each other, you can hear each other, you just cannot quite reach. You stop mentioning the money, they stop asking. Everyone pretends nothing has changed, but everything has changed. You see a therapist, a good one. She asks you, during one of your early sessions, what you wanted before the money, and you realize you do not remember. Not because you have forgotten, but because you never really knew. You wanted to stop worrying. You wanted options. You wanted to stop feeling like you were always one bad month away from drowning. And now you have all of that. Every single thing you thought you wanted, and you are sitting in a therapist's office trying to figure out who you are without the wanting. You start a foundation. It begins small, a donation here, a scholarship there. Then it grows. You hire someone to run it properly. You fund a community center in the neighborhood you grew up in. You pay for surgeries for strangers you will never meet. You send kids to college whose names you will never know. You fund things that will exist long after you are gone. And this is when the money finally starts to feel real. Not when you bought the watch, not the flights, not the hotel rooms. When a kid you have never met gets to go somewhere she never could have gone without you, that is when you feel something that is not just noise. 3 years in, you understand something that no article, no winner's story, and no piece of advice could have prepared you for before you actually lived it. Money does not solve your problems. It solves the problems that money can solve. And there are more of those than you might think. Medical debt, housing, education, the kind of grinding poverty that crushes entire generations. Real, crushing problems that money genuinely fixes. But the things that live inside you? The loneliness, the questions about who you are, the need for meaning, the feeling that you belong to something. Those do not have a price tag. They never did. The money just makes them impossible to avoid, because now you have no excuse left not to face them. You are not running from rent anymore. You are just running. You go back to that parking lot sometimes, the one outside the pharmacy. You do not entirely know why. It looks exactly the same as it always did. A row of shopping carts, a flickering sign, a stretch of wet asphalt that looks like every other parking lot in the world. Nothing about it says this is where it happened, but you sit there anyway. You think about the person who was sitting there in the rain, engine off, wipers going, staring at a phone. And you think about what you would tell him if you could. Do not do it. That is not what you would say. Just this. It is going to be stranger than you think, harder in ways you will not expect, and better too, in the places you could never have predicted. The rain, when it falls, still sounds exactly the same. Some things do not change, no matter how much money you have. And depending on the day, that is either the most comforting thing in the world or the most terrifying.